Is marketing the new CX? Is CX the new marketing?
Yes.
What's your perspective?
I think customer experience is the new marketing. I want to share a story about this. I, last summer, went to Greece. So we go to this restaurant. We had the most amazing dinner, most amazing food. And at the end, I ordered a very popular dessert there, which is yogurt with spoon sweets. I asked my waiter, I was like, where did you get these delicious spoon sweets? I want to buy them so I can bring them home. And he's like, well, actually, they don't sell them in the stores here. My mother makes them. And he literally stopped everything he was doing and called his mom right at the table. And he said, okay, come back tomorrow, come to the restaurant, and I'll have them ready for you. I go back the next day. I walk in and he sees me and he's like, oh, I've been waiting for you. And he goes back and he brings out not one, but 2 jars of the spoon sweets and tells me that his mom included an extra jar as a special gift. And then the hostess, who happened to be overhearing the whole exchange, turned to me and said, if you pour the syrup of the spoon sweets into your water, it makes the most delicious juice. And my grandmother used to make that for me when I was a little girl. And I walked out of that restaurant and I was like, I will remember this experience for the rest of my life, even after those spoon sweets were gone. I was just like so amazed by how they just took ownership. They saw that I had a need and they went above and beyond to try to make me satisfied.
So empowered, going up and beyond to deliver something extra special. And here you are talking about them, right? You're the walking, talking billboard for the brand. And that's what other companies can do when you're doing CX right. Welcome, Nicole, to the Doing CX Right show. I'm so happy to be here in Lambertville with you.
Oh my gosh, me too. It is so beautiful here in Lambertville. We're looking out at the Delaware River and we are going to Heroic Public Speaking tomorrow to record our speaking reels. So what a cool opportunity for us to be here together. I'm so happy to be here with you.
It really is cool. Yeah. And we're going to deep dive into customer experience and marketing topics. But before we do, tell me a little bit. Tell the audience, who are you? What do you do for a living?
Yeah, I'm Nicole Donnelly, and I'm the founder of DMG Digital. And we are a B2B e-commerce consultancy. We work primarily with manufacturers and distributors to help them get ready for B2B e-commerce. And we do a lot of change management work as well, and helping them with their marketing maturity to get ready to start selling online. So, and then I also host a podcast called Hello Moxie, which is a platform and a podcast for women that really is to empower women to speak up. And we share the stories of the women who've inspired them. And then they share their own Moxie moments. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Love that. And what's one fun fact that people might not know about you?
Ooh, fun fact. I was born with crooked pinkies.
Oh.
Yeah, they're pretty creepy.
Never noticed that.
Yeah. And when I was a little kid, I used to think crooked pinkies were normal. So whenever I'd see anyone with straight pinkies, I was like, what's wrong with them? Why aren't their pinkies crooked? And, you know, it's been a little bit of a curse because I play the piano. And so because they're crooked and they bend in, I can never get past an octave. So
that is a really unique, fun fact. And I'll always be able to identify you.
Yeah, Nicole,
if I lost you.
The crooked pinky girl. It's actually a really common genetic mutation for people who are of Eastern European descent, which I am. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, all right. So this is the Doing CX Right show. And I want to start off with when I say doing customer experience, doing client experience right. What does that mean to you?
So I want to share a story about this. Okay. So I, last summer, went to Greece, which is my favorite place in the world. Naxos, Greece. It's this beautiful island in the Cyclades, okay? And we go to Greece, and of course, we want to eat all the delicious Greek food. So we check into our Airbnb, and we asked the woman who was renting us the Airbnb, where should we go to dinner? And she's like, oh, you need to go to Axiotissa if you can get a reservation. So we're like, okay. So we tried calling, and they were completely booked the whole time we were there. And so we're like, oh, that's a bummer. But we called again the next day and we said, we're only going to be here a week. Do you think you can find a spot for us? And they said, actually, we can make a reservation for you tomorrow. So already we're like, score. They were trying to make it work for us. So we go to this restaurant and it's totally in this unassuming location. Like it wasn't right on the water. It was this beautiful tavern up against the mountains. And we had the most amazing dinner, most amazing food. And at the end, I ordered a very popular dessert there, which is yogurt with spoon sweets. And I had sour cherry spoon sweets they put on top. And they were so, so good. When I finished, I asked my waiter, I was like, where did you get these delicious spoon sweets? I want to buy them so I can bring them home. And he's like, well, actually, they don't sell them in the stores here. My mother makes them. And let me call her and I'll find out if she can sell them to you. And he literally stopped everything he was doing and called his mom right at the table while we were there and called her up and said, and started speaking to her in Greek and said, hey, Mom, do you have any of these spoon sweets that you can sell? And she said, yeah, actually, I do have some. And he said, okay, come back tomorrow, come to the restaurant and I'll have them ready for you. So I was like, oh, thank you so much. I go back the next day. I walk in and he sees me and he's like, oh, I've been waiting for you. He's like, let me go get your spoon sweets. And he goes back and he brings out not one, but 2 jars of the spoon sweets and tells me that his mom included an extra jar as a special gift, which was so lovely. And then the hostess, who happened to be overhearing the whole exchange, turned to me and said, I wanted to give you a tip. If you pour the syrup of the spoon sweets into your water, it makes the most delicious juice. And my grandmother used to make that for me when I was a little girl. And I walked out of that restaurant and I was like, I will remember this experience for the rest of my life, even after those spoon sweets were gone. And to me, I was just like so amazed by how they just had took ownership and had the independence to make a decision to make the customer happy without having to check or do. They saw that I had a need and they went above and beyond to try to make me, satisfied. And that was like, to me, customer experience and right. It's the employees were empowered and felt that they could, make those decisions without having to check some sort of manual or rule book.
Mm-hmm. So empowered, going up and beyond to make sure to deliver something extra special. And here you are talking about them, right? You're the walking, talking billboard for the brand. And that's what other companies can do when you're doing CX right.
Yes.
So perfect example.
Yes.
All right. Now, marketing, I come from marketing. I fell into CX. You do a lot of marketing. There's customer experience. So is marketing the new CX? Is CX the new marketing? This is a fun debate.
Yes.
What's your perspective?
I think customer experience is the new marketing.
Okay, say more.
I think I was thinking about all of the marketing activities that you can do for any company, and every single marketing activity, you're interfacing with the customer. Even if you're putting out Google ads or, social media marketing, you're interfacing with a customer. So everything you do in marketing it's customer experience, and the founder of marketing, modern marketing, it's all about identifying what the market needs, what brings value to the market, what your customers want. So they're so interrelated. I don't see how you can separate them.
Yes. So another slant to this is in the CX framework, we talk about a journey. And you could also say that in the journey, there's learn, awareness, that's clear marketing. Buy, e-commerce, sales, retail, etc. So learn, buy, get, use, pay, get help, which is customer service. So if you think about it in context to a journey, it does start with marketing, the message, the personas. The challenge is that the message doesn't always trickle down the journey. So marketing will come up with a promotion. The caller, someone needs customer service. And the contact center says, I don't know what promo you're talking about. So how do you stop that? How do you stop that disconnect? Can you stop that?
Yes, I think it takes intentional planning. You need to make sure that whenever you're that your marketing team is involved and has meetings with everyone in the company. So there needs to be like a standing customer experience marketing meeting where you have representatives from every department in that meeting. So whenever there's a new marketing campaign running, everybody's involved in it. They have a say in it. They know what's happening and they know when it's going to be going out and what's going to happen. So there needs to be like a almost like a feedback loop where you're regularly meeting not only to launch your new marketing campaigns, but also to follow up on how they're performing so that everybody knows and has. And you can't just send it as an email. I feel like it really, in order for it to really work, you have to actually be sitting together as a team, working together on it. Yeah.
100%. Without that, everybody's working in their silos.
Yes.
So in that case, you've got marketing. They come up with the best messaging, but it doesn't reach the others. And then everybody's talking about something differently and the customer feels it.
Yes, absolutely.
So measurements of success.
Yes.
How do you know? What's your recommendation for people listening who are in marketing and who in customer experience that they know that they're delivering the message right, that it's working?
Yeah. So I think it's really, really important that you do both quantitative and qualitative assessments. So I highly recommend after a sale, you send out a brief survey that uses the Net Promoter Score at a minimum, but you also need to be regularly doing qualitative interviews with your customer. Marketing needs to be doing them. Marketing needs to be talking to the customers and actually doing that regularly. I usually recommend my clients do that at least once a year, where you do a full-blown needs assessment and you do qualitative interviews with a handful of your customers. You work with the other departments to identify which customers do we want to talk to and make sure that you're reaching out to not just your long-term VIP customers, but maybe your prospects that have never done business with you, maybe customers that haven't purchased from you in a while. So making sure that you're talking to a variety of different customers wherever they're at in the journey, so that you have a really balanced view of what the experience is across the board. And through those qualitative interviews, you can really get and understand some themes that help you identify what questions quantitatively you can create to send out to your entire customer database. So you've got some really solid, good, qualitative, deep data, but then you can also send a follow-up survey that gives you that statistically significant data that will help you measure overall your entire customer base, how you're doing. So I like to do the combination of both and do it annually. But in addition to that, I think we talked earlier about having regular meeting, with all of the departments. So it's important to have a feedback loop with your frontline employees who are interfacing directly with customers. So marketing and sales and customer success all need to be having and meeting regularly and have a regular feedback loop where they're getting feedback and hearing what's happening, what's going on, what do we need to do about it, and having that baked into the culture.
Yes. And I would say bring the voice of customer from social media, ratings and reviews, your contact center, agent conversations, the web forms, right? Collect all of that. So the structured surveys, but also the unsolicited, all the different areas that you can collect that feedback is so important to include, to be able to strategize and make sure that you really understand not these one-offs, but really the continuous complaints and happy points.
Yeah.
All right. So AI can't get around it. As much as we want to, you can't. So how is AI in your mind affecting marketing and currently and the future of marketing?
Customer experience. Great question. So I think AI can be leveraged in really interesting ways to help you understand the voice of the customer. So for my podcast, Hello Moxie, for example, we just finished a big marketing strategy project where we actually leveraged AI to come up with a SWOT analysis, a competitive analysis on our competitors. We leveraged it to come up with personas, and we also leveraged it to actually create mock focus groups where you could actually mock for those personas, and it would actually mock out a detailed focus group of all of their feedback. So, and it was actually quite good information that we got back from it. But I think it's good for you to leverage AI to do that kind of initial research on your customers, but then you need to gather that information and still validate it. So it's really important that you don't just rely on AI completely when it comes to understanding the voice of the customer, but using that information to help you know how can we go deeper to understand more deeply what customers are needing, and using that information to maybe help in that respect. So I think from a market research perspective and voice of the customer perspective, that's how I would recommend using AI. But I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting to see, how companies are going to continue to leverage AI across the customer experience, and being very careful, because I think trust is so difficult right now. People don't trust anything. Mm-hmm. And anytime customers see like any whiff of AI, they're like, I'm done. Mm-hmm. So I think when it comes to the customer experience, you have to just be very, very careful that your customers are interfacing still directly with people as much as they can.
Yeah, I want to emphasize the word you said, validate. Mm-hmm. So not only are you validating the personas mm-hmm. and all of the research, but same thing in designing customer journeys. You do it from the inside and you can get some research, but you have to validate with real customers mm-hmm. that you're really solving their needs.
Yes.
So I'm glad you said validate, because to me, people skip that part.
Yeah.
And that's a mistake.
It can be very easy to do that, I think, these days because of how easy AI is to use, but still really important. Yeah.
Well, easy also because they're so about speed.
Yeah.
Speed to market, and they'll sacrifice quality.
So true. Yeah.
So don't do that. Well, as we're getting to the end here, my fast rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
So one is leadership.
Mm-hmm.
We know that it takes great leadership to be able to fuel the employees and fuel that great customer experience. Mm-hmm. Best leadership advice you've received or given?
Ooh, best leadership advice. This is rapid fire, and I don't feel very rapid fire.
Well, that's all right. Take an extra minute.
Let's see. Best leadership advice. Oh, I've got so much good leadership advice. I would say the thing that immediately comes to my mind is from a former woman that I used to work for, and she was a baller. She's owned a successful wellness company and built it to, over $50 million a year in revenue, like just fierce entrepreneur. And I remember she always used to tell me all they can do is say no. So I learned from her just like how important it is to just go for it and to just ask. And the worst that can happen is someone can say no. So I loved that advice that she gave me. Just go for it. Do it, so.
Does she know my mother? Because that's my mother taught me that my whole life. So it's great advice. Yeah. And what's the most important thing you want people to remember? What can they go do? Not just think about and ponder, but go do.
Easy. I think, making sure that if you're on the marketing team, you need to be talking directly with customers. You can't rely on your customer experience team and your sales team to really be an excellent marketer. You also need to take the time to hear directly from them and ask them how things are going and ask those tough questions. So I'd say marketers need to be talking to the customers, and also feedback loop. It's so important that all of the departments are regularly meeting and asking those questions and really looking at that data on a regular basis and making decisions together based on what the data is telling them.
Together is the key word. Stop the silos. Stop this. It starts here. And the other thing is people need to listen in on the customer service calls. Because that's gold of insights. No matter if you're in legal, HR, marketing, listen in because you'll learn so much. And my favorite question of all, if you could go back in time to your younger 20-year-old self based on what you know now that you didn't know then, what would you tell younger Nicole?
I would just tell her to just do it anyway. I would tell her that you're going to be afraid no matter what. You're going to be afraid. And to just embrace the fear and know that that's part of growth, is to be able to face the fear and say, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. I wish I would have. That's what I would tell my younger self, is just go for it.
Do you know there's a book by that title?
No.
Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. So if you haven't read it, it's exactly that. It's the best book title. So read that, contact either of us, and all your information will be in the show notes. Yeah. Perfect. And thank you so much for being here with us, with me.
Yes, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for having me, Stacy.
Thank you.